Exposure. But yeah, so what I was saying earlier, of course, excuse my back to the camera for the time being. I wanted to walk down the row a little bit more here, without tripping over myself. Is yeah, we do have a much lower crop this year than what we've seen, but again, this is probably going to be one of those years where we're going to have to trade off the quantity for the quality, and there's not going to be too much trouble with that. And we've been fortunate in the last few years. The 05 and the 06 vintage were much higher yields than we actually expected. Those were high rainfall years and followed a couple of low production years. So, and that's just kind of a natural cycle of the grapevines to alternate the crop load. A lot of it is just based on natural cycle of the plant. Some of it's just part of the effect of the weather. But we had a lot of issues between interesting, dramatic weather this year and also a couple of large crop loads in the last few vintages. So this is not a bad correction to have overall, a high-quality, low-yielding vintage. And it's one that we never seem to have any real problems. There's a strong correlation. When I say problems, I mean problems in the marketplace. There's a very strong correlation with low yield being high quality. And, we've seen it in the last couple vintages. Probably the most notable one, the last couple low quality or production vintages, the most notable recent one was probably the 99 vintage. And I think we're going to be pretty much looking at the same thing. Very concentrated wines, just not much of them. And every year is a little different. Some years, I'm thinking about 05 is a good example. We just didn't pick the fruit at very high bricks. The berries hung a long time. It was a high rainfall year, and it was cool during this part of the year, September and into October, the latter part of August as well. And things developed slowly. We didn't get late season heat spikes that pushed the sugars along, so everything came along very slowly, very little raisening. And we ended up harvesting, mostly around the 25 bricks range. Whereas, typically by the time the season's over and you average out all the harvest bricks, you're probably looking more at 26 and a half. And that's become, the norm for Napa for the most part. And so anyway, so there is a big difference there between just dehydration from a heat spell and letting the fruit hang. And oftentimes that's just one of the strategies you have. On a hot year, there's a certain faction of growers that might just feel like they have to just get out and harvest the fruit before the heat completely causes it to all desiccate. There's, with the advent of irrigation lines, what we have is the ability to be able to keep water on the vine during those hot periods and bank on the fact that most likely there's going to be a cooling trend. In this part of the country, we don't really have heat spells that last much more than 4 or 5 days, usually followed by a cooling trend. So you get that cooling trend, and you're able to keep the water on a certain amount and then just back off, and the vine will, especially with the aid of some cool nights and hopefully foggy mornings, they'll actually equilibrate. The plant will continue to pull water out of the ground, continue to plump up that berry, and replenish some of the water that had been dehydrated, get the inner berry chemistry back in order, and so you're going to get your acids, your sugar, and your water levels back into check. And then that's going to give you a better opportunity to harvest when there's a little more optimal balance with the fruit. And what that tends to do, there's no question, though, that on a warm weather year, you are going to get more fruit-driven wines. And we saw that in 2004 and also in 2002, where we did have a lot of late-season heat, where we went through just that strategy that I mentioned, where we backed off, let the heat run its course. Sometimes you have to sacrifice parts of the vineyard. There might be whole areas, particularly in like sandy or gravelly soil, where you might just have to eliminate a lot of raisined up clusters that just got too shriveled. But what you've left behind, and in the end, that's like 1 or 2% of the crop. It looks a lot worse when you're actually out there in the vineyard, but by the time you pull all the fruit in, you realize that you sacrificed a small amount for higher quality in in the vast majority of what you've kept. We have been lucky, looking back over the last 10 years, that we've had, every year is a little different, but we haven't been really completely skunked on any one vintage. Even the 98 vintage, which people still talk about as being one of the tougher ones to get through, give those wines a little bit of time, and they're actually starting to show themselves to actually be pretty nice